Good morning. Today I want to talk to you about protecting your heart against something that you never want to happen. And it's so easy to happen for us. Why? Because we get caught up in the world. The everyday humdrum, do it over and over again, and somehow along the way we lose something with God. You know, it's amazing. The Bible tells us, do not harden your heart as in the day of rebellion. It's basically saying that we have to rebel against God in order to harden our hearts. We have to do something that He doesn't want us to do in order to get hard in our hearts. What does that mean? That means that we're not sensitive anymore. That means the things that used to bother us don't bother us anymore. That means we don't dream anymore. We don't hope anymore. There's a lot of reasons for that. But I want to give you three things this morning very quickly. Have you ever seen a child, how soft-hearted they are, how they dream, how they play, how they run? They just have, and I hear this all the time, I wish I could have half their energy, a piece of their energy. They have so much energy because they're not bogged down with fear. They're not bogged down with maybe I'm going to fail. They're not bogged down by thinking that if I get my hopes up, I might get let down. That happens to us over time, doesn't it? It even happens with God if we're not careful. God doesn't ever want that to happen. You know who put it in your heart to dream? God did. Think about it for just a minute. One time I went up to Barnes & Noble and I wanted to read the 10 bestsellers of all time. And so I went in there and I said, what are your 10? She said, what are you talking about? I said, I want to know the books that have sold more than any of the books in the world in history. She's the number one selling book, Alice in Wonderland. I thought, you've got to be kidding me. It's a kid's book. But it's a book that, what is it? It attracts everyone because it takes you to dreamland and you escape a harsh reality. God wants us to mesh together what we think is a harsh reality with dreamland, with happiness, with giddiness, with hoping, with the world to come. All of that's there. And the other bestsellers were Chronicles of Narnia, the Lord of the Rings, all of these kind of books, Harry Potter books. All of these books were books that were fantasy, and they were kids' books. Yet they were the best sellers of all time. Hard to believe, isn't it? But we hardened our hearts and we no longer dream with God. The reason is because we stopped being children. And we no longer believe in the unseen. We let what we see in life, every day go to work, all this, we don't believe in the rewards that God says He has coming for us. We don't believe in the great things that are going to take place. And pretty soon something dies in us. I remember a missionary conference that I was in a long time ago, and I remember them giving a testimony about this missionary station way out in a place where nobody was, and they had a child that was going to die, and they said, and the little girl, she's probably 6 years old, one of the daughters of a missionary or something, said, what would it take for her to live? They said, well, we need penicillin. It's 3 days away. We don't get another plane till so and so and all this. And she said, I don't even know if it comes then we'll even be able to survive. And she said, well, can I just pray for God to bring that sooner? I said, well, yeah, you can pray. She said, can I pray for anything? I said, yeah. Well, one of the missionaries needed a baby bottle for their baby, and she wanted a doll. Well, lo and behold, the package came 2 days early, and they went through all the supplies that had been ordered. But they got some things with a little note that said, we thought you might need some extra things. Gave you some penicillin. We know that you could always need that. Penicillin. And then, not only the penicillin, but a baby bottle. In fact, I think there were several of them. And then underneath everything else was a doll. Now that child didn't even act surprised. She never even thought it wouldn't take place. She didn't have a hard heart. She had a soft heart that believed in God. God help us to be little children again when it comes to believing in God. God bless you and have a great day.